thought about
So,
it to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna fight. But no, I feel like I answered it because it's just like what Jesus did when he said, God, take this cup from me. Like I would be praying, like, why, I would be asking the wise, you
well,
know.
by you, I don't mean to cut you off, but
But
by
I
you
also,
being a
okay,
new mother, by you being a
uh-huh.
new mother, I
Yes.
mean, and you know, of course, you bonded with your child and everything. Um, I mean, would that even be a question?
Like I'm saying if
Y-
I was asked that question.
Yeah, so if you was asked that question, what I'm asking you, if you were asked that question by your God, and you think this is God talking to you,
Uh-huh.
by you being a new mother, by you knowing and bonding with your child, this and that and the other, I mean, you would naturally question God.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I mean, that's just not no, that's not even nothing to think about, you know. But Abraham didn't.
No, he didn't. But the
He
question
didn't
was
question him
towards
at
me.
all.
Right, he
Right.
didn't. Like I see that I thought he hesitated, but I think that's just from the idea, the movies that you see. So you going off of movies. I was like, let me go look at the scripture. So no, he got up the next day and was like, he loaded his donkey, and he was like, okay, where's the
Yeah,
lamb? So
exactly. So,
in
well, let's
in
go
ref-
back. Let's step back a little bit because, like I said, I
okay,
could see that that's kind of touchy to you because you know you're a mother and you have a newborn and everything, and so let's move back to just the Adam and Eve. I mean, where Adam was made, and then God told him that He said, "You may eat of any tree in the garden, but don't eat of this tree, the knowledge of good and evil. Um, uh, you shall not eat of it." I think the exact words is, "You shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat of it, you
you
shall
shall
die."
yes,
So now m- this is the problem that I have with that, just that one sentence. I have a problem with that because if Adam did not have the knowledge of good and evil, how would he even know what death is if he's never even experienced death around him? Because nothing died in the garden. He didn't know what death was. That's
that's
like you
true.
telling you. That's like you're telling a, a a child who's never experienced anything, you know, even a
Yeah,
baby, you know, don't touch that, don't touch that. That's gonna burn you. That's gonna burn you. They don't
yeah.
even know what burn is.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's a good perspective. You're right
You
because
see?
I said the same thing about them not knowing good or they didn't know good or bad. So how would they know what death is as well? That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Think I didn't know you was back. Go ahead.
No, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we did talk about that and talked about how they wouldn't have understood the punishments either, because they were mentally immature at that time. But what I want to ask you a question about is going back to Isaac and Abraham. And if I'm going to give you a scenario from the Jewish tradition, a story that a lot of Christian believers may have never heard. Okay, and I want to know what your thoughts are with that. So there's a Jewish tradition in the Talmud where the story actually starts off with the God going to Sarah as the mother of Isaac, and the God asks Sarah to offer Isaac up, and Sarah immediately tells him no. She
Mm-hmm.
says, "No, I will not." Right,
Mm-hmm.
and then she goes to bed. She wakes up in the morning and she sees Isaac and Abraham gone. And immediately she knew that the God had went to Abraham because she told him no.
Right.
So it says she dropped down on her knees and she prayed to the God of the universe. And she asked the God of the universe to protect the lad. And she cursed Abraham. She said, "A man that sacrifices his son to a God has neither a God or a son." And then it
Mm.
goes to Abraham committing the sacrifice, and then two angels of the Lord. Isaac's soul leaves his body, he had a quickening. The two angels guide his soul back to his body. He resurrects, and then he talks about how death quickens, right? And it's what some Christian theologians call the foreshadowing of Christ. Isaac's resurrection is the foreshadowing of Jesus's resurrection. So not all Christians know about this tradition, but some Christian theologians do. With with Sarah being able to say no, like who would you say had exemplified the ability to exercise the knowledge of good and evil that they then had, right after Adam and Eve ate of this fruit, and then every human then gained their own moral conscience. Like who would you say exercised that ability to use that?
Sarah definitely did. And again, the information that you just shared, yeah, I never heard that story, and it made me think about just being a womb, like a woman in general. Because when you think about, your when you have kids, is perspective of life just changes so much. That's why I'm reading the Bible with different eyes. So when I say, I didn't want to answer that question because it's so sensitive. It's such a sensitive topic. It's like, it's not that I wouldn't. It's not that I wouldn't say no, but it's like, let me go sit with that, because you're dealing with a person. Before I was a mom, I just became a mom at 39. I'm 41 now. So I was, I've been a believer for all of those years before. So having that type of information embedded is like, hold on, let me go and really get a little more deeper, because I totally look at life a lot different now. So as a woman, I feel like women are, when you become a mom, it's a whole nother download. So I feel like Sarah, because she was a mom in that situation, she definitely she put her gloves on. Like, I'm not sacrificing my child. Like, so God was like, okay, she can't, she not gonna do it. So I'm gonna go to the man. And lo and behold, that he didn't. Well, the Christian story, because you told me too, he didn't end up having to sacrifice his son after all. It was a test.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that in the Bible, Isaac goes up the mountain with Abraham, but the
Yes.
story has Abraham coming down alone?
Mm, no. I haven't read it lately. But I'm familiar with the story. But I know I didn't pay attention to that particular detail of him coming down alone. No.
Yeah, and some literary scholars who do biblical textual criticism point that out
Mm,
and notices that it's most likely a redaction, and whoever was redacting the text didn't catch that they had
didn't catch it.
Isaac coming down. I mean Abraham coming down alone without Isaac, because the original text said that Abraham actually went through with it. In the Jewish tradition that I was telling you about, the rabbi points to Genesis, the story where Sarah and Hagar, Genesis 21, where the God says to Abraham, listen to everything Sarah tells you, right? They point to that and say that Abraham, because Abraham came from a culture where sacrificing their children to their gods was the norm, Abraham might have thought that this is what this God wanted. And so the rabbi says that when the God tells Abraham, listen to Sarah and do as she tells you, is because Sarah was in a better mindset than Abraham was. And so he was telling the man to listen to his wife, right? And then we later see in that story that this God goes to Sarah. Sarah tells him no, but then he goes to Abraham, and Abraham immediately says yes, and then he has to be saved by the angel. Even in the Christian story, like, he has to be saved. We see that it's the God that tells Abraham to do the sacrifice, but it's the angel of the Lord who stops him. Like the God doesn't
Right.
stop Abraham.
Right. Said don't touch him. I do remember that. Don't lay a hand on him.
Have you ever
Um,
asked yourself why the God didn't stop him?
I feel like that's the messenger. So I feel like it is God. It's just the messenger of God. That's what an angel is.
But did the God send a messenger to Abraham to tell him to do it?
That, if I'm not mistaken, that was God Himself relaying a message. So he
Right.
doesn't have to.
The
Yeah.
God said to Abraham, do it, but then he sends an angel and say, tell him I was joking.
I mean, I feel where you coming from, but that detail. I don't know how important that is. I mean, it's still His message.
So
It's
like
still
if
His
your
message,
boss
regardless.
comes to you and
You send
tells
the
you,
messenger.
if your boss comes to you and tells you that he wants you to have all of your reports done by the end of the week or he's going to fire you. And
Hmm.
then a employee comes and says, "Oh, he said that we don't have to do them anymore. We can go home early." Are you going to just listen to the employee, or are you going to double check with the boss who told you that if you don't have your reports done by the end of the week, you're going to get fired?
Well, that's a fleshy example. We got to stick with the spirit because
It's
this
it's
is an
Abraham
angel of
not
God.
flesh. Is Abraham
No,
not
we
a
talking
human?
about we're talking about the angel though. You said
The,
we know that
we're
the
talking about
angel
a
came.
boss and an employee. We're talking
That's
about a
different. That's
boss
the
and it's not
that's
different.
the flesh. That's the flesh. You can't use that example.
It's not different.
It is a different.
Abraham was in the flesh. Abraham only heard
But an
voices.
angel came to him.
Abraham, hold on. Why are you talking? I'm talking. Like, please don't do that. Okay,
You
we're having a
fine.
good conversation. I understand that you don't agree with what I'm saying, but you can wait to disagree with me until I'm done.
10-4. Continue.
Thank you. Abraham was in the flesh. Abraham only heard voices. He never saw the God. Abraham never saw this God. So we are dealing with the flesh, right? So Abraham says, or the writer says that the God said to Abraham. We're not even getting this from Abraham. We're getting this from a writer who says God said to Abraham's head, to Abraham's mind, go and sacrifice your son Isaac. And then the writer says, then later an angel of God stopped Abraham and
That's
told
right.
Abraham this was to test you to see if you were loyal
Right.
to God for
Yeah.
whatever promise the God had already promised Abraham through ended on asking you a question and then your response is can I respond? Like
Yeah,
either
because I
it's
want.
condescending.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I know you probably felt that way, but I wasn't. It wasn't. Don't feel that way. That's not what
So
it was. I truly
so
was trying to make sure.
if I say right, like you if I'm asking you a question, why would you not think that it's your turn to respond?
Because I wanted to ask you the question to be sure, and I wasn't being condescending. I'm a great communicator. So at the end of the day, I just, because you told me to stop cutting you off, I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing it again, you know?
No,
Respectfully.
I know why you said it. Most Christians do that. When I have to
Most
say
Christians
like
do
for
what?
there you go again. There you
What
go
I do?
again. You didn't hear me talking just now when you said most Christians do what?
Okay. Go. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
like
let's stop.
normally in a conversation, I have to say, please stop cutting me off like 5, 6, and 7 times. And then eventually they'll go, can I talk now? Can I speak now? And they'll sit there and keep saying that in response to me saying, hey, when I get finished, you can respond, right? Like if I'm sitting here waiting for you to get done, as the host of the live, like I would have, and I know this is a lot, right? Me saying, don't disrespect me if I'm going to respect you, that's burdensome, isn't it? That's
No,
me
it's
being rude,
not.
isn't
I
it?
love it. I love that
What
about
what
you.
was the woo? What was that?
The woo
Yeah.
is what it was. Is woo. Because we're talking about this part, and I was just trying to make sure it was okay for me to respond.
It was
I'm sure.
that's what
I'm
woo
sure.
meant.
Listen. I'm sure you're my season, so I truly respect
I
my
don't know.
elders.
I'm
So
not your
I'm saying,
season. I'm not your season. My
oh,
name
you're
is
younger.
Thinker. No, oh, you
Oh,
mean your age? Am I your age?
like I feel like you're a little older than me, so I truly am trying to like respect
Wait, you're
what you're
calling.
telling me.
Hold on. You're like you should respect people regardless
No,
of age.
regardless, yeah, but
Like
I'm just
yeah,
saying I
but
I
okay,
respect my
you're doing
elders
it
too. Is
again.
what I'm
You're
saying.
doing
I
again.
respect
You're
my
doing it
elders.
again. You're doing it again.
I respect my
You're
elders.
doing it again. You said
That's
you were
all.
41, correct?
But that
How,
has nothing to do with
you're
me.
hold on. You're
That has nothing to
41.
do with
You're 40.
voicing.
You're 41.
I'm
Is that correct?
voicing.
I'm
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry. You're 41. You're not a minor. I'm 45. And regardless, you should respect people when they are respecting you. Like there's no reason why I should have to say to you multiple times, please don't cut me off, let me finish. And then the moment that I speak up about it, the moment that I have to get assertive about that rule that I have in this space, the childishness comes out. And you know what you did. There's no need for you trying to like manipulate or gaslight and pretend like you're not like the nice nasties. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like no matter how nice I try to be to them, like it never fails.
well. Can we possibly get back to the topic?
Sure, with your inability to acknowledge and apologize for what you just did, that of course, let's talk about how great your Jesus is and not having the knowledge of good and evil.
Well, I definitely have the ability to apologize, which I did, but you didn't hear me, so I'll do it again. I apologize, and I truly mean that.
Sure, you do.
I
Now
do.
let's talk about the knowledge of good and evil.
Okay, so I would love to respond, but we got so off that I need a refresher from the last thing that you spoke of.
I'm sorry. I'm not too keen on having to repeat myself. Like,
Oh,
I'm not.
okay. Well, I think that this might be a good time. I'll step down. I think you're upset, and it's okay. And I appreciate the conversation. I learned a lot, and everybody, I appreciate being able. You taught me some things today that I didn't know when it comes to other religions, and I hope I was heard. And again, no
Okay. Thank
condescending.
you. Have a good day.
All right, bye bye,
All
babe.
right. They fucking nice nasties gross me the fuck out. God damn.
Hello,
Hi, how old are you?
I'm 32.
And I assume that you are a believer by your comments.
Yeah.
Nelly, you want to start this one off?
Oh yeah, I got my mouth full. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Okay. And um, so which topic would you like to talk about?
Oh, you guys was talking about Abraham real quick, and
No, no, no. We don't go back and talk about other conversations that we had with other people because they're not on the stage. You
oh,
have to
okay,
start your own conversation. We have two topics on the board. Which one would you like to discuss?
okay. So let's see. Did God withhold the knowledge of good and evil from Adam and Eve, them or control them? Alternate topic: is Jesus the problem or solution for humanity? Okay, let's go on. Adam and Eve.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when we see that they was withhold the knowledge of good and evil, they was withheld it for a purpose. The purpose being that there was more than one tree in the garden. There was the knowledge of good and evil, and then that was the only tree he told them not to eat from. And he specifically, like, really pointed that one out. And he said, every other tree and every other fruit is available to you, eat as you please. But there was another tree in the midst that's mentioned, and it was the tree of life. And
Okay,
when we get
so
to Yeah, when we get to Revelations, and we have the revelation of that once we are at our last, we will finally eat from the tree of life, and we have eternity. So it's kind of like this big space of from the beginning of humanity on Earth and to the
Sorry, I have to
end.
stop you. You're not
Yeah,
answering the question.
Okay, so the question is, did God withhold the knowledge of good and evil from Adam and Eve to protect them or control them? I'm giving you guys an answer to the question of how it would work for the protection of such.
At what point did you say the word protection?
Well, I'm getting to that because
Yeah,
if we
you're
have,
we don't listen. We don't want you to monologue, right? Like be concise with your answers.
I'm sorry, I
This is a
apologize.
two-way conversation. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Uh, okay, yeah, no. So, like, because when God created humanity, He created us, and we was like babies, right? Genesis is you have Adam and Eve like they're babies. Do you guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah, like it's like you're looking at infancy, like realistically, they really don't know nothing. Like they don't know good, right from wrong at this point. They're like just innocent little
Okay.
babies. So like
Okay, let's
realistically,
run. Let's slow down, slow down. Let's
yeah,
run with that. Let's run with them being babies.
exactly.
Okay. So we'll go back to the making of Adam.
Yes.
Okay. Now, after Adam was made and God commanded him, he said, you may eat freely of every tree in the garden,
Hmm.
but of this tree of knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall die. We can
Hmm.
stop right there. Now, if they're babies, would Adam know what death is? If nothing has died in the garden,
Yes.
how would they know? How would he even know what death is?
Yeah, he doesn't. I guess he doesn't really know. I mean, it hasn't been something that was experienced.
So now it goes back to the parent, which would be God.
Yes.
The parent would have to teach them what death is in order for them to understand what death is, so they'll know that that's a bad thing, right?
Yes.
Did that happen in this story?
Does he teach them? Yeah.
Where did he teach them at?
They learn from what death is. Afterwards, they eat from the tree. From the first sacrifice was
Okay.
the animal.
Okay, hold on. Stop. You didn't hear what I said. I asked you, did God teach Adam what death was?
After eating from the tree, from the knowledge, the tree, from the fruit, they gain the knowledge of good and evil.
Okay,
And
but stop again. You still didn't answer my question.
oh no, I'm getting to it. I'm sorry.
No, you
So
can't
then
get to it. It's a
how
direct
can I get to
question.
it? It is a
Did
direct
God,
question.
it's a yes or no question.
How
Did
is it a yes
God,
or no?
did God teach Adam what death was prior to him eating from the tree?
Prior, no.
Okay, so now if when Eve ate from the tree and they got the knowledge of good and evil, that came from the tree of them eating from it. God didn't teach them nothing. They learned it automatically by eating from the tree. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. God didn't teach them nothing.
God did not teach. Okay, and we go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the concept of death was because
Yes, they
nothing's
had
ever
no clue.
died.
Exactly.
Nothing's ever died in the garden.
Yes. Yes.
They didn't even have the concept of knowing that if God said don't do something because you will die, they
Yes.
don't know what
Exactly.
they don't know that whole concept. That whole concept means nothing to
Exactly. Yeah,
them
you're right.
because they don't know. Now,
Yes.
prior to them eating from the tree, God never taught them the concept, never told them what death was, never explained the situation. He only just said, if you eat this, you're gonna die. Okay. You see what I'm saying now when I say that? Do you understand?
Yes.
Because
I understand.
and then after they ate from the tree, the knowledge of good and evil And the knowledge of knowing what death is automatically came into them once they consumed of the tree. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So God didn't teach them anything. They learned it by eating from the tree.
That was placed in the garden by him.
It doesn't matter who placed it in the garden. I'm you still missing my point. My point is that God never directed